Are you looking for the next cutting edge technologies to invest in to be on the right side of the future? If you're someone who is looking to potentially have your money double and triple, then this is going to be the episode for you, and that I'm taking a look at for my own personal portfolio, both within the stock market and within real estate. You're going to have a blast on this episode. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. As you know, this is The Difference, where we talk about business and money. In today's episode, I am so excited because, I really want to pull apart and break apart the things that really are holding you back right now, and certainly held me back no less than 11 years ago. And it wasn't that like I was a bad person. It's not that you're a bad person. It wasn't that I'm not bright or gifted or smart. It's just that I wasn't taught the playbook. I wasn't taught the playbook by society, by school, by my parents, and it is not their fault necessarily. Bottom line is I just wasn't given the game. And so today I really want to help you out because I know that your desire is to not only build a business if you're an entrepreneur, but all of us have one thing in common, and that is, man, we are trying to figure out, how do I make money? How do I keep money? How do I grow money? How do I protect it? So I want to break down the four parts of money, and then I want to dive into the five sectors that I think is really going to revolutionize the future in the next 5, 10, 15, certainly in the next 20 years. And then I want to talk to you about two particular companies that I'm so excited about. I've actually just doubled my positions in these companies to prepare for massive growth. And I want to talk to you about real estate, not even here in the United States, but international real estate that I'm seriously considering investing in, and not just investing a little bit, but going almost all in on this particular location. So stick with us to the end because you're really going to enjoy it. Let's start with breaking down the four parts of money. So as we look at money, money is really funny. It's something that we all need. And there's lots of different ways to basically earn it. So when we think about it, we have to master all four parts, or we're going to be struggling. We're going to be hurting. We're going to be wondering what is going on. If we're not stressed out, then we'll be living paycheck to paycheck. We'll have unnecessary stress, and we won't be able to live the lives that we want. And more importantly, we won't have the freedoms that we want in our lives. So let's dive into it, because the first part is we need to figure out how to make it. And I think you've been groomed. I certainly was groomed from a young age on how to make the money. This is why we go to school, right? This is why we get the jobs. This is why we have the careers. This is why we step out on faith and start our own businesses. This is why we scale really big businesses, because at the end of the day, we're looking for two things. One, we're looking to make a transformation to really impact the lives of people. And when I think about, everything that I've done in my life in terms of making money, so much of that came down to what was going to give me personal fulfillment and what was going to make me feel like I was actually making a difference. And I would be, you probably feel the same, right? Like we want to have passion, we want to have purpose. We want to have a reason behind why we're going to get up every day. And that's really after the transformation. Like at the end of the day, is what I'm doing going to make a difference in a person's life? And if we don't have that, then so many of us are willing to step away. And we say, this is not my calling. This isn't my destiny. This isn't really what I signed up for. And I saw it so many times, even in my previous career before I launched out in my entrepreneurship life. But, I saw so many people in the medical field that really felt like that's why they were there. But that's why they became nurses. This is why they became doctors. This is why me as a pharmaceutical sales rep at the end of the day wanted to be in that industry, because I felt like our products can go on and touch people's lives and help them get better. The doctors and the nurses, got into that field because they knew by what they did, they would be able to help people get better and really make an impact in their lives. So that's the transformation. Number two is obviously we wanted the transaction. We knew that we have bills, we have responsibilities, we have things that we want in life, we have things that we want to buy, places that we want to go. And so we need to figure out, how am I going to trade my time, my labor for this thing called compensation? So for a long time, we figured out that I need to figure out how to make the money. Now, here's the secret. You ready for this? The secret is it's not always about what you make. And unfortunately, you're probably only focused on step number one, which is how much am I making? And I think one of the best things that we can do for sure is scale our income. And I'm going to talk to you about that. But even before we start to build the skills, the habits, the discipline to start scaling our income, then what we got to know is how do I not only perfect step number one, which is making the money, which we've talked about, but now moving into step number two is how do I keep the money? And so we got to learn to be stewards of our money. Write that down. Because if you don't learn how to manage it, then it doesn't matter how much you make. Right now, I work with students in our coaching programs, and some of the students make $50,000 a year. Some make 200,000, some make 500,000, some make $1 million. And what is so interesting to me is there's one particular student. She's a teacher. She's been a teacher for 19 years. She's not an entrepreneur necessarily, and she makes about maybe $6,000-7,000 a month. And then I might have somebody else who runs a great company, pays themselves very well, earns $20,000-30,000 a month. And then I have somebody else who, is bringing in $550,000 a month. And when I sit down with these three individuals and we start to look at their wealth in terms of how long can they live the lives and lifestyles that they want to live, even if they have no physical money that's coming in, right? How long can they do that? And what surprised me was the teacher who makes $7,000 a month has more wealth than the other two people I just described. And why does that happen? Because as we tend to make more, we tend to raise our living expenses to now meet what we're currently making. So two things are true about money. And you've seen this happen in your own life. I've certainly seen it happen in my own life as well. Usually our dreams are limited to the amount that our paycheck is. Usually we can't see outside of that. Now, for those of you guys that are listening to this podcast, you probably could because you're on that journey of seeking. And we all know if you seek, you shall find. But for most people in the world, they can only dream as big as the money that they're making, right? We can't see outside of that. The other part of this is true as well, which is the more I raise my income, then I raise my living expenses. My houses tend to get better. My cars get better. I start wearing better clothes. I start going to more expensive restaurants. I start going to more trips. I start flying first class. I hire people to come in and help me. And so as my income goes up, so does my quality of life and so does my level of spending. And so because of that, then it doesn't matter if I'm making 500,000, I'm still living paycheck to paycheck. And what's worse is usually you're spending even more. So how do we get around that then? The way we get around that is we now have to start putting boundaries on our budgets. We now have to start telling our money what to do instead of our money dictating what we do. And without the second part of this money equation, it just doesn't matter. You can make all the money in the world, But if you spend even more than that, what does it matter? So, which moves us into number three. And actually, if I take a step back, when I think about managing the money, it really takes me back to when I proposed to my wife. And we got engaged on the 4th of July, 2008 in Newport Beach, California. And we decided that we were going to wait about 15 months in order to get married, right? So we got engaged in July, and we're going to wait to September of the next year. And so after kind of deciding where we wanted to have our wedding, how many people were going to be there, it was pretty apparent that the wedding was going to be about a $30,000 investment. It was going to cost us about $30,000. So my now wife, fiance at the time, we sat down, and what we did was said, okay, Jamil is going to save X amount a month. Amanda, you save X amount a month. And once we do that, then we should be able to have $30,000 in the next 15 months. Well, cat's out of the bag. We didn't have 30,000, but we were able to save up about $25,000. Isn't that amazing? Not bad for a 26-year-old kid, and she was probably 22 or so, you know what I mean? So we did a great job. Now, that was in 2009. I didn't make the decision to start building wealth and be wealthy until maybe 2015. So there were 6 years in between there. 6 years. How much do you think we saved up in those 6 years? Now, we demonstrated in 15 months we could save up $25,000. But now 6 years had gone by and we saved nothing. We invested nothing. So we made more money over those next 6 years. But instead of saving and keeping what we had, what we actually did is we went and got ourselves in $100,000 of debt. So you can see that it's not just about making the money. What is often more important is how much are you keeping? Which moves us into number three, we have to master. And that is, how do I now, since I'm keeping some, how do I grow it? Where do I put this money so that eventually this money starts working harder for me than I work for it? So that when I sleep, this money is rising and grinding. How do I now take this money and now put this money to work? See, the problem is you got lazy money. Okay, right now your money is like that child that went off to school and then like couldn't figure it out, so came back to mommy and daddy's house and just laid on the couch for the whole summer. And every time you got up and you went to go work really hard, you looked at this child and you said, "What the hell is wrong with you? Like, why are you just laying on the couch? You got a lazy child." And what I'm trying to tell you right now, your money is lazy. This money needs to work. Let me just break it down really fast. What you want to do, the rule of money is how fast can I double it? Write that down. So if you got $100, this is how you want to be thinking. How fast can this $100 turn into two? And how fast can this 200 turn into 400? And how fast can this 4 turn into 8, and 8 turn into 1600, and 1600 turn into 3200, and 32 turn into 64, and 64 turn into 12.8, and 12.8 turn into 25.6, and 25.6 turn into, you see what I'm saying? That money has got to double and triple. But if you work your whole life to just bat singles, then you're going to do just that. You're going to work your whole life to bat singles. So we have to start finding vehicles to make this money work. So 10 years ago, when I really decided, okay, I'm not about this life anymore, man. I got a son and a daughter now. I got a wife who I want to revere me. I want her to honor me. I want her to respect me. I want to be the leader of this household. I want to create freedom. I want to put businesses in my kids' names. I want to have properties. And my kids' names, I want to change the Frazier last name. I want to break chains. I want to elevate. So that means I need to separate. I want to have a breakthrough. So that means I need to have a breakup. I want to make sure that my name means something. So when people say Frazier 100 years from now, that actually means something. That means dedication. That means hard work. That means ownership. That means investing. That means entrepreneurship. That means books. That means courses. That means education. That, like Frazier, that name means something. So how do I now take this money and put it into things so that it can start that rule of doubling? And I thought, hey, I read this book by this dude, Robert Kiyosaki, called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it seemed like that was the way to go. Real estate. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start making more. I'm going to start keeping more. I'm going to master those first two skills. And then I'm going to take this money and I'm going to put it into real estate. And that's exactly what I did. And I didn't really have a lot, right? I told you I was still living in this little small space. But now because I started to learn how to manage it well, I had a little bit. And so the very first thing was I found this little property in Southern California. And I said, you know what? I talked to a mentor of mine and I said, hey, do you think I should buy this piece of property? He said, yes. I said, why? And he said, because you're buying it in an area to where it literally is the worst house in a great area. So what's going to happen is over time, Jamil, that house is going to appreciate and you're going to have positive cash flow on it. I said, say less. Real estate is what it's at. But I said, man, I don't have enough coins to get more of those houses right now. What do you think I should do? He says, well, why don't you look out of state real estate? He says, you know, California is an anomaly. Did you know there's lots of places in this continental United States where you could buy the same house that you just bought in Southern California for $50,000? I said, bro, you could buy a 1,600 square foot house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms for $50,000? That sounds like a $500,000 house where I live. He says, yes, you can. So now I said, okay, I got a friend that lives in Indiana that knows about property. Let me fly out there. Let me spend a week out there and let me learn about this Indiana property game. Okay, why? Because I need to take some of this money and I need to put it into something so that this money can start doubling. So that's what I did. And I started investing into out-of-state real estate. And then my mom came and said, hey, I'm going to move to Atlanta. Would you be interested in looking into some real estate out there? I said, well, I never looked out there. I'm in Indiana. I'm in Southern California. But yeah, let's look in Georgia. And I started looking in Georgia and my mind exploded. I was like, wow, same sort of thing. You mean you can get this great real estate for pennies on the dollars, what I'm used to in California? Yes. I can have positive cash flow? Yes. I can have appreciation? Yes. So you mean if I put $20,000 in, a few years later, that 20 could turn into 40, and along the way, I could be making $500, $600, $700, $800 a month in rent? Yes. Oh, I'm in. Okay, let me make a little bit more. Let me keep my lifestyle the same, right? So I can keep a little bit more. So now I can take this money and put it into assets, put it into things that's going to make this money go up without me doing anything. That's the best way to make money, is making money for doing nothing. You got to spend time on your job or on your business, 99% of your time. 95% of your time. And then you got to be looking. I got to be working. I got to be looking. I got to be working. I got to be looking. Looking for what? Looking for opportunity. Opportunity is always there. But who's knocking on opportunity's door? You have to find them. Let's go. So it was real estate. And then I was like, oh, real estate people need money. Let me start lending to them. Then I was like, oh, I can start investing in businesses and you guys will give me some equity. What? Okay, so let me invest in businesses. And then it was like, oh, there's this stock market thing. You mean I can find a really good company and I can just put a little bit of money in there and they'll give me a piece of it? And then as that company does better, then my money will do better. And oh, every quarter they'll say, thank you for investing in us. And we've had a profitable quarter. So here you go. You get a little percentage of that. And I don't have to do anything. And it's like, yeah. And so you combine all those things, and now you got some real estate, and now you got some lending, and now you got some businesses, and now you got some stocks, and all these things start working together. Now that $100 is now starting to double, right? Now that $200 is starting to double. Now you're making the money, you're being smart, emotionally intelligent by keeping it. And now you put this money somewhere where it is now working hard for you. This is how we start building wealth. This is how we do it, right? So the way that the money doubles, the we call it the velocity of money. So we want that $100 to double, but sometimes it can take 10 years for that $100 to double. Sometimes it can take 10 days. So that velocity, do I want it to happen in 10 days? Do I want it to happen in 2 years? Do I want it to happen in 5 years? Do I want it to happen in 10 years? Or do I want it to happen in 30 years? All of that is the velocity of money. And the faster it happens, the more capital you get to now go put into something else. If it takes 30 years and my money is tied up for 30 years, it's cool. I'm not complaining. I'm grateful. But man, if I could do it in 5 years, then I can take that capital and I can go put it into other places. And the faster I do that, take the capital, put it in something else, get more capital, put it in something else, get more capital, put it in something else. That's how our wealth builds quicker. Okay. So what leads me to, now that I'm making more money, now that I'm keeping my money, now that I'm putting into assets that's appreciating without me needing to do anything, I got to do number 4, which is I need to be better at protecting these assets, and I need to do better at protecting this money, which comes down to taxes. Now, listen to me. We are not in the business of evading taxes. We don't do that. I don't do it. You don't do it. But best believe we avoid them. Let me say it again. We don't evade them, but we avoid them. And we avoid them legally. And let me just tell you, there's a lot of legal loopholes that you and me can use to legally avoid taxes. You have to build a financial team. You got to build a financial team. Why? I need attorneys. I need CPAs. I need tax accountants. I need tax advisors. I need business managers. I need all of these people to help me go fight this battle out there so that I'm not doing it on my own. Listen, I'm really good at the things that I do. I need people on my team that are really good at what they do so that they can tell me all these secrets so that I can protect what I have, so that I can keep more of it, and then I can take that more and go deploy it somewhere else where it makes me more. So I need tax efficient vehicles. Last year, I hired a business manager. I've had him for years. But last year, he says, there's this new thing that you can do. I said, really? He says, yes. He says, if you do this and you do this and you do this and you just take this and you just move it over here, what will happen is you'll actually get a refund of X amount. I said, really? That's it? He said, yeah. And I was like, that's legal? He said, yeah. I said, bro, I don't believe you. So I got the whole squad on Zoom. And I said, hey, my accountant is here. My CPA is here. My business manager is here. I got everybody here. And I said, you guys, he said that I can do this. Is this true? So certified financial planner, is this true? CPA, is this true? Business attorney, is this true? They said, let me look through the tax codes. Well, yeah, that's true. What? So you mean all I got to do is move this from this account over here and these people are going to give me back some money? Yes. Even though I made all this money? Yes. Sure enough, few months later, I'm starting to get these checks in the mail, and it eventually added up to about $80,000. I was in the middle of a move and I found one. Didn't even know it was there. It was like $12,000. So you want to now not evade, but avoid. And there are lots of ways that you can avoid taxes. And listen, you worked hard for it. You are going to make the best decisions with your money than anybody else. Let me just tell you, especially you, right? Some people that's out there, they're not. They're going to need help, like figuring out how to actually use this money and not blow it. But trust me, if you're getting to the point to where you're building wealth, you're pretty darn good at this whole money thing, right? And trust me, if you are at that position, you're going to do a way better job of directing your money where to go than somebody else. Right? And if you're a good person, you're going to do good things with that money anyway. Let's dive into, so we just broke down the four. Now, if you do not master these four laws of money, then we're going to be hurting. You're going to be working longer than you need to be. You're going to be exhausted. We're going to be paycheck to paycheck. We're going to be stressed out. And it comes down to these four. Now, here's the fun part. There's 5 sectors of the future that I want to talk to you about. And this is what I'm really excited about. Now you're making more. If you're not making more, then we got to build the skill set so that we can start making more. And if we're not making more, then we definitely got to get really good at managing what it is that you have, because we're going to need that to make that money grow. And then we have to protect it. Now, let's look at the 5 sectors of the future that I'm really excited about. Number 1 is robotics. I'm so excited for robotics. It's not even funny. And I don't mean like the weird robots that we've seen back in the day. I mean, humanoid robots is going to be just like you and me. Hey, that's going to be in your house. It's going to be driving cars. It's going to be cleaning up messes. It's going to be taking care of kids. Like, I'm so excited for this to happen, and it's going to happen in the next 10 years or so. And, companies that are manufacturing these robotics say it's not going to be good enough for them until these robots can actually start sewing thread. Okay, that's how nimble they're going to be. Now, remember, these robotics also are going to be futuristic in terms of just how you and me use ChatGPT or DeepSeek right now. That's already embedded into these robots. So these things, I don't even know what to call them, are going to not only be the smartest freaking things on the planet, but they're going to be able to learn you and do daily tasks that you and me don't want to do. How cool is that? So sector number 1 that I'm really excited to invest in is anything that's associated with robotics. Number 2 is energy storage. And I'm going to tell you about a company I'm so high on right now that I've doubled my positions in this company because of energy storage. This company is called Fluor. Okay, Fluor. Now, it's not spelled that way, but that's how you pronounce it. So FLUOR Corp. So stock ticker is FLR. Right now, I'm looking at it live time. We're trading at about $50 a share right now. And so I'm so stoked on this company because we know that AI is, it's already here. It's certainly the wave of the future. And one thing and one thing only that AI really, 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 really needs in order to do what it wants to do, and that's energy. It needs a ton and ton of energy. So what Fluor does is it provides the energy and the infrastructure. Just think of the foundation, right? All of these AI need these massive energy conductors. And what Fluor does is it builds the infrastructure, the foundation for the energy. So not only do we look to invest into the AI companies themselves, but what companies is going to build the infrastructure for the actual AI companies in energy. And so when we look at things like nuclear energy, Fluor has deep experience in nuclear infrastructure, including small modular reactors, through its stake in NuScale Power, a major nuclear plant expansion. We also look at things like LNG and gas-fired power. So Fluor builds LNG export terminals and gas-fired plants, the invisible backbone of power supply for 24/7 operation. It also integrates carbon captures, blending reliability and clean energy. And then we just talk about, grid and power infrastructure. Obviously, this is what I'm talking about. We're going to need it. So Fluor supports grid modernization, microgrids, power plant integration, and carbon reduction, basically creating the power grid of the future. So, without companies like Fluor, AI is not going to be able to do what it needs to do. So, AI needs massive, reliable power for data centers, cleaner energy sources, resilient power. Fluor's role is to build the nuclear plant, hydrogen microgrids, carbon capture, renewables, and folks, it's only trading at $50 a share. I believe, why did I double my positions in it? Because I believe this is going to be a company in the future that has the potential to do what NVIDIA did. And I'm so stoked about it. So we have robotics, we have energy storage, we have artificial intelligence, AI, right? Which leads me into the second company that I just went all in on. I'm just going to tell you. And this company is called Archer Aviations. Archer Aviations. And what I like about Archer is, I think a lot of times we know that companies like Tesla is doing the selfless driving, and we know that that in the future, basically these cars are going to be driving themselves, right? What's also cool is as the future continues to unfold, it's not just going to be cars, but think about like aviation, right? Think about humans being able to have urban air mobility. So imagine yourself just sitting at like a bus stop, which I haven't done in years, but we have drones, right? And we all know about drones. But imagine yourself sitting at a bus stop and then being able to take like a drone, but for humans. This is already here, by the way. You just haven't heard about it. And so in the next 10 years or so, this is just going to be what it is. It's going to be like Uber. Right now, we use Uber as like a verb or an adjective. I don't know what it is, but we say just catch an Uber. This is how it's going to be when we are investing in companies like Archer Aviation, because it's the early front runner to what they call the eVTOL urban air mobility. So Archer's Midnight aircraft is designed for 4 passengers, electric vertical takeoff and landing. It boasts 150 miles an hour top speed and 100-mile range, key specs for cities, airport commutes. Okay, just imagine you being at your house and like this freaking uh drone thing comes and it scoops you up and it takes you down to the airport. Folks, this is happening, right? Like this is happening. I know it sounds crazy, but this is happening. So it's already got strong backing and liquidity. Recently raised $850 million to bring its liquidity to $2 billion. Strategic investors include, listen to this, when these types of people that I'm about to say, not even people, entities get excited about something like this, like we got to raise our eyebrow and we got to start looking. So its investors include United Airlines, BlackRock, which if you haven't heard of BlackRock, look them up. One of the biggest institutional investors, and partnerships with Anduril for defense use. Folks, I think Archer is going to There's two companies that I'm like really, for real, doubling down on. One is Archer, the other one's Tesla. The other one's Tesla because of the robotics, not because of the cars, but because of the robotics. They're leading the way in that. So, I mean, growing partnerships and sales pipeline, major partners, United Airlines, 200 aircraft orders. Stellantis is manufacturing these things. JetX, Vertical Ports, Ethiopian, Abu Dhabi Airlines, Indonesian Airlines, up to 50 aircrafts. I mean, they're already selling these things. It's crazy. So, and right now, I just doubled down my positions last night, and I believe it was at like $10 a share. Can you imagine if this thing explodes? Can you imagine? Okay, so I'm so excited about that. So, so we talked about robotics, we talked about energy storage, we talked about artificial intelligence. Next, for sectors of the future is blockchain technology, and last, we have we have multiomic sequencing. Okay. So when we're thinking about where do I put this money, and we want to start thinking about different sectors, then we can start thinking about these sectors. I'm high on robotics, I'm high on energy storage, I'm high on AI, I'm high on blockchain. Okay. Let me tell you about something, a play that I most likely am about to make. I'm not telling you to do any of these things, by the way. I'm just giving transparency on what Jamil is doing. So when we look at real estate, which is another vehicle you can put your money in, we can look, I'm here in Southern California. And so we can look here nationally, or we can start to look internationally. You can look in the state that you're in, or you can start to look out of state. When I got into real estate, I bought a property in Southern California. And then like my next portfolio of properties were basically out of state, right? And then I came back to California. So I am now looking at real estate internationally. And one of the best places that I have heard, I have not done this myself, is investing in developing countries in Africa. So there is a little island off the coast of Tanzania called Zanzibar. And when I tell you I'm excited about moving some assets and investing in Zanzibar, folks, look at my face. I am excited. I am so excited for this opportunity to potentially buy beachfront property on some of the whitest, most crystal blue waters, the whitest sandy beaches. One of the last places that on earth where you can get beachfront property for less than I've spent on real estate in Atlanta, Georgia. And, just the opportunity when I talked about how fast can you double, I believe it's like, Abu Dhabi 20 years ago. But Zanzibar is a place that you most likely, this is probably your first time ever hearing about Zanzibar, and nobody knows. And so I believe over the next 10 to 20 years, just like some of these positions with Floor and Archer, I believe the next 10 to 20 years is going to be crazy. I think that this is an opportunity to get in early on some positions and make a name for yourself. It's like if you was to hold Nvidia 10 years ago, if you put $10,000 into Nvidia 10 years ago, then that $10,000 would probably be, I don't know, what, $1 million now? So I believe the same opportunity for these. Now, again, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just telling you when you think about the four parts of money, I got to make it. I got to keep it by managing it. I need to grow it. I'm just telling you about some things, some opportunities. Remember, I told you, you got to work hard and work for it. You got to work. You got to look. You got to battle, you got to search. You got to earn, you got to search. So now that we're searching, okay, where can I take this dollar, this $100, right? This capital, and where can I put it to work so that it starts working for me? I just told you 3 areas that I'm looking at that I'm really, really excited about. So today I wanted to be able to help you build your game plan for, one, how to start thinking about the money that you have. And I wanted to start giving you some ideas that you may not have thought about. But this is the way that I have been thinking about the subject of money for the last decade. And I battle and I look. And now we have an opportunity, obviously, through our videos and our course content and everything, to help a lot of other people do it as well. So, I just wanted to give you a deep dive and be able to, be able to bring you value. I hope today's episode was valuable. If it was, consider subscribing, go and share this with a friend, and we will see you on the next one.